When I was 8 years old, I think that was when I first had what I'd see as diagnosable OCD, which revolved around poisoning and contamination, washing my hands, and I think the form of OCD, which a lot of people know maybe a little bit about. That went on when I was about 11 or 12, kind of evolved into thoughts surrounding religious things and counting and tapping things in certain sequences. Every aspect of my life was affected in some way because constantly I was doing these rituals. I remember even in dreams at night I'd still be having the OCD thoughts. It wasn't until I was 12 years old, so it was 4 years before I was diagnosed with OCD. And it was at that time when I found out that OCD was a thing that existed. So for 4 years I just had these thoughts and didn't really know what was going on. But then between the ages of 12 and it's hard to say, but between the ages of 12 and 15 I was going, kind of going through CBT and then having top-up sessions after that. And around kind of 15, 16 it was the point where I felt like the CBT had worked and that I had control over my OCD. And certainly now there's never, whilst I wouldn't say that I was cured of OCD, that there's never a time when I go, well, I can't do that thing because of my OCD, and I think that was the point I wanted to be at. A really hard thing in therapy was to have that motivation to imagine that it could ever be any other way. That's another way in which I think service user involvement is really important, because a big thing for me was seeing video clips of young people who had OCD at different points in CBT and different points of kind of having some control over their OCD, and that was really miraculous. The problem is that when people go through and go out, you don't really hear about their experiences afterwards. Particularly with CBT, I really feel that CBT was like a kind of toolkit which I was taught, and then after I stopped going to sessions, I was still using those skills, and obviously there's no kind of feedback to my therapist about how I use those skills afterwards and how things progressed. So I think that it's a way to kind of get that feedback back to therapists.